point as to why we're here today, I guarantee that any person in this room, had you taken out your phone right now, looked up your company on ChatGPT, and asked it to summarize what the company stands for, what the brand stands for, half of the room would be very surprised. The answer could be based on outdated data. It could be almost like written like by a competitor. It could also be very freaking good, almost so good that you want to steal it for your pitch. But the biggest takeaway here is that it's the machine that decides what to surface and to serve to the answer for the people asking. And there's conversations happening between people and machines that brands oftentimes are not part of. And that's what we're here to discuss today. I am joined by Jim McKelvey, the co-founder of Block, formerly known as Square, and the CEO of Invisibly, and Mostafa ElBermawy, the founder of Goodie AI, a AI search pioneering platform. And we're excited to dive in. Why don't we start from the top? We have a very interesting name for the panel. You're not who you think you are.
Truly. So the title of the panel is You're Not Who You Think You Are. It's not that they just misspelled our names. But we wanted that because there was this weird perception that is going around, which is there's this massive shift from search to chat. And it's incredibly difficult to know how the LLMs perceive any brand or any person. And since that is the new metric, that's what search is going to be in the future. We were perplexed by this idea of how do we know who we are with everything shifting. So you're going to hear this again and again. Oh, everything's going to be AI. Yes, it will. But then the question is, if you're trying to sell something, if you have a brand, or if you have something you're trying to manage, how do you know what the perceptions are? So I got a little present for you guys. And Mostafa, you should probably chime in on this too.
Yeah, I think we've, as Jim said, we've moved from conventional search engine to answer engine, and even soon action engines. If you use Operator, Manos, even deep search, when you use ChatGPT, this is an agent that does search on your behalf. People don't like searching, people like answers, people like actions. And there is a massive platform shift in how brands are perceived today, and how people, like we say, you're not who you think you are. That was the title of the panel. You are what the internet says about you. You are what the LLM says about you in this new shift in this new world. And yeah, it's a really exciting topic. And my name is Mostafa ElBermawy, not Elwari. And Jim here, Jim McKelvey. So just not to emphasize that too many times, but you guys can, if you Google some of the work that we've done in that area.
But this is who we are today.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can be completely off the record because none of you will attribute this to anything. And I have no social media, so you probably don't know me. Do you guys know our backgrounds at all? Should we give some context for why we're up here? That's yes, you know who we are? No, nobody knows who the fuck I am. Great. So I'm the founder of a company called Square, which we renamed Block. It's a mobile payment system in St. Louis. My partner's Jack Dorsey. So Jack and I founded what we now call Block 16 years ago. I'm an engineer by training. I'm not in marketing at all. But this year I had I built a marketing product just for fun. Should I go into this?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, which is a little town in the center of the United States. St. Louis? Okay, cool. Well, Kansas City's been kicking our ass, but they're a close-by city. So the biggest brand you would know from St. Louis is Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser. And they did the most horrible thing recently. You guys, they took the top beer brand in the world and they totally destroyed it. Bud Light got wiped out. And it's because they took a stance on trans issues that was not consistent with their brand, and the public revolted and their sales plummeted. They literally killed the biggest beer in the world. And this, I take it very personally because Anheuser-Busch used to do a lot of good in my town with the money they made selling beer. And if they're not selling beer, they're not doing much good. And so I'm an engineer, I'm an economist, I'm a guy who plays with numbers, I don't play with brands, but I was trying to figure out if there was a way to solve this mathematically. It took me about 6 months, small team of engineers, but we've come up with a product well, I should say it's not really a product. It's a tool that will allow you to objectively measure every attribute of a brand without putting any bias into it, and then represent it graphically. So along with the fucked up slides, I'm just going to have to give you the URL if you guys want to do this. It's completely free. www.powerscore.ai, but power, PWRSCORE.ai. And I apologize, it is not optimized for mobile. You'll need a browser to experience this. But it will let you literally measure anything in the world. You can take a person, you take a brand, you can take a trend, you can take politics, you shove it through, and what we do is we access all the AI engines, a bunch of them, compute a score using a bunch of math that I would put you to sleep if I explained right now, and then produce a graphic that shows you visually what that brand or that person represents.
So then how can you trust that the AI represents the data truthfully, though?
That took us about 6 months to tune. And it was a subjective tuning. What we did was we looked, because it turns out the models are not all consistent, right? And the models screw up. But remember, you don't have to just use one model. You can use all of them. And so what we do with the models is we play them off against each other, that's one of the reasons it took so long to build, is we had to tune it.
And the input is very important for the models to analyze. So Mostafa, I remember in 2022, you were at the panel in South by Southwest Austin, and you got a lot of looks for saying garbage in, garbage out, and you were predicting the future of search. And you were basically talking about what we're talking about today, here, and that was 3 years ago. And given that your hot takes resonated last year, curious to hear your perspective on optimizing for visibility on these AI models.
Absolutely, yeah. And I want to make sure that everyone got Power Score right. Did are you guys able to check it, first of all? Power Score. Yeah, so it's very interesting. This is something actually, like, when Jim first showed it to me, it's really fascinating that you're able to see, how you're perceived by LLMs and how different brands and different personas are perceived by these LLMs. And the math behind it is really interesting. But to answer Marina's question on AI visibility and the factors that goes into driving an LLM visibility, this is something that in Goodie AI, it's something that we measure very carefully, and we do this for many leading brands, where we actually, one last study that we've released is we've analyzed the output of 1 million prompt. It's an associated sources, any of the rack sources or any of the citation that they use of each and every LLM. Put that against 15 factors, actionable factors. And if you guys go into higoodie.com, not to make you go into another website, but if you go into that, we actually do have that on the blog. It's a full study telling you what are the key factors that are deciding a brand visibility or the lack of today on the internet.
So is this like search optimization in the old days?
Yep, in a way, you can say that.
So in other words, if I'm trying to sell some shit, I want to have a high Google search.
Precisely.
And that's now become irrelevant.
Yep.
So instead, what I need to do is game the LLMs.
You wouldn't game, but you will get more visibility.
Oh, we're not gaming it.
Yes.
Okay.
It's authentic.
But what if I'm willing to give you money to promote a brand that, let's say, I want you to drink my beer as opposed to that guy's beer? Can you do that?
Well, if that guy's beer is bad and it has a lot of negative sentiment about it, I can't help you because already the LLM...
Have you tasted Red Bull? It's piss.
Well,
But they didn't sell that. That was branding. Can you do this? You're wearing black.
I think we can give you the visibility, but you are what the internet says about you. So we can tell you what part of the internet is actually impacting your brand visibility and is impacting you negatively and what you can do about it. And that way, hopefully, you go and make your beer better, but also take an action in actually identifying the variables and levers that are impacting your visibility. Whether this is your website is saying has a bunch of outdated information, or in Reddit, people are saying X and Y about you, or this YouTube creator or TikTok creator is saying X and Y about you, and it's impacting your brand. So you are not who you think you are, you're what the internet said about you, and that means that the internet is massive, and figuring that out requires some type of tooling, and that's exactly what we've built.
Jim, I'm curious to hear what your perspective is on, as a CEO, what's your biggest nightmare, given that LLMs are taking up so much real estate for people as a natural source to search for things?
I mean, I love it. Look, I've always been somebody who builds products, so I'm not in marketing. So Square, the company that I started, had zero marketing budget for the first 3 years. And we grew 10% week over week. So the net effect of that is the company doubled in size every other month with zero marketing. And it was because what we sold was so simple to understand that people just bought it. I apologize, it doesn't really work over here in England as well as it worked in the US, but US audiences, sort of know that thing. Look, I really like the efficiency of the LLMs. I love the fact that we're not sort of at the mercy of Google, because a lot of my friends who are at Google tweak the algorithm, and there's this constant running battle between people who are trying to game the search algorithms and the companies that are trying to provide sort of meaningful feedback. And look, the people are caught in the middle. So what I was very happy to see is that these days, the LLMs have sort of taken over. The problem is, from the other side, if you are trying to accomplish something that one of Mostafa's customers is trying to do, which is like you're trying to sell beer, you're trying to do something with a brand, manage your brand, okay? Well, now everything's gone dark. Like, you don't know what the fuck is happening inside those massive models. Oh, and by the way, these are the guys who build the massive models. Like, that's the whole way these systems are trained. They're too large for any human to understand. But then the question is, well, what do we do? How do we manage it? So this is why I wanted to build a tool to just shine a little light in this area. We don't make any money with this stuff, but I'm just hoping that some of you guys will try it. And then, we want to have light on the things that are going to direct our lives, okay? And I got over here by asking ChatGPT where I should stay, and it picked the hotel for me. And I had...
Is that any good?
Yeah, we made it.
Well, there's room for improvement.
Well, we optimized that hotel.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. We want to shine light into the things that are going to be affecting us. And so this is a way of measuring the output using the models themselves to show what they're currently thinking. And believe me, it changes every day.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with Jim. And actually, not only it changes every day, every single person here would ask a question, they would likely get a different answer. So it's even personalized one-on-one answers. And that's usually the challenging part about measurement. So if the relationship between brands and consumer, you have these LLMs are the intermediary. And essentially, like, the people discover brands, research that brand, and which is the ideal hotel, and even take actions. I think actually OpenAI is partnering with Shopify and a bunch of other players you will be able to take an action and check out within the OpenAI experience. You've seen that weird video of Sam Altman and John Ivey on the OS, and you can see like how this video is, OpenAI is going to become a whole OS, and part of that is the entire experience will be built within the shopping experience. Think of the funnel has collapsed essentially, and everything from awareness to action is going to happen within ChatGPT. And I think a lot of the consumer brands are thinking hard about that, because it's essentially like now you can see ChatGPT shopping when you're searching for the best gaming headset or the best phone or car. But for some products you'll be able to check out directly within ChatGPT, and that essentially. Our websites, think of what our website will be used for. They're going to be retrieval sources for these LLMs to feed from, and then a lot of that attention is going to move to these LLMs, and that's the direction that these companies are pushing us for.
Mostafa, I have a question for you, though, and this is the question that every CEO or CMO would ask you. You're speaking in hypotheticals, but what is the actual way of measuring the impact of AI search outside of impressions and being able to be surfaced by LLMs? What is the true way of measuring this is the bottom line impact?
For a brand, I think it has to be the North Star of that brand. You have to tie this to revenue. You have to tie this to metrics that matters. Yeah. And the attribution piece can be really challenging. But that's what CMOs care about. We just did a study for B2B brands where you can see the downstream efficiency of ChatGPT. Essentially, a ChatGPT lead, which is, again, right now is only ChatGPT leads for B2B brands represent about 7% of the traffic source, 7.8% precisely, but their efficiency is 2 times that efficiency of Google, meaning it closes 2 times as fast. And essentially, if you give me 100, essentially one is going to have 2% close rate, and the other one is going to have a 1% close rate. So Google is...
Is that 2% versus the top recommendation on Google?
Yep. So essentially, if you need to close.
So in other words, if chat says stay at this hotel, I'm twice as likely to stay at that hotel than if Google says, oh, this is the hotel that matches your search criteria.
You can argue people...
So, we've got an audience here. Do you guys trust the LLMs to do this stuff? How many of you guys trust it? Okay. How many don't trust it? And how many of you would like to see more about what's going on? Okay. So, most people want to know.
Absolutely. No.
But it is already having a measurable effect, is what you're saying.
For sure. It's having a massive effect. How many people trust Google versus ChatGPT? That was the study is about. And essentially, I fully agree with Jem that this has to be, we need to understand what is actually going on.
I mean, look, trusting Google is different. Because trusting Google is, did they index the page? Does it find the word? And Google technically found it if it's ranked on the 100th page, right? It's a different game when you're trusting something else to make a recommendation and summarize all knowledge, right? So I used to, get a weird pain in your leg, and you're like, oh, I'll Google what's wrong with my leg. Well, now I ask Claude to diagnose a medical condition. How many of you guys use LLMs to diagnose aches and pains? Yeah, right. And how many, so actually I own a company that does medical trials, so I'm totally into this. Doctors score in the high 70s diagnosing. Current generations of the chats are in the low 90s. They've already beaten human doctors as far as accuracy measurable through diagnosis. So you're okay. Trust away.
We moved from medical SEO to medical AEO. Seems like we're having LLMs diagnose our conditions now.
Yeah, I mean, I used to Google what's wrong with me, right? And now we're ChatGPTing that, and very, very interesting for sure.
Jim, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on, since everything is being filtered through LLMs, how do we actually get to measure what matters?
Well, it depends what you're trying to do. So I'm huge on measurement. And I guess I need more context for the question. If you just want summary, the LLMs will do this beautifully right now. And you can kind of validate summary if you do it a couple of times and you get confidence that, oh, it's done a pretty good job. The issue that I keep coming back to is that the models themselves are not consistent, and I didn't know why. So I just wanted a visualization tool so I could see what was going on for the stuff that I cared about. So I'm very concerned about Block, okay? I'm very concerned about Square. I'm very concerned about Cash App. I'm very concerned about Tidal. Does anyone listen to Tidal over here? Oh, God damn it. It's a competitor to Spotify. Don't worry about it. We bought this company from Jay-Z. But, I'm worried about this. But these days, that worry is reflected in my worry as to how the language models are doing it. And I think I don't think it's an answerable question in the sense that I don't think we've got, sort of some simple metric because nobody really understands what has been built and what is inside these machines. And so the best we can do, I think, is keep an eye on them as it relates to what we care about. So pick the things. This is why I'm trying to give tools out. Pick the things you care about. Watch those things. Pick the people you care about. Watch how their score changes. And then if you want to have fun with it, you can match people and things, or people and people. So for instance, one of my favorite searches is if you go into my model and you model cocaine, okay? Like what do the LLMs think about Coke? No, not the Coca-Cola, but like Coke, right? All right. So Coke has a brand, and cocaine is this thing that has a certain set of perceptions. So if you model cocaine, and then you thought, well, let's do a thought experiment. Who would be the best endorser on the planet for cocaine? Whose behavior most mimics cocaine's brand image? The number one brand ambassador, if you could hire him, I will give you a hint, it is a male. Who would it be? Charlie. He's top.
I feel like this was a trick question.
But actually, it's Donald Trump.
Okay, I guess we're not on U.S. soil, so we can say that.
Sorry. I'm not, this is not political. So I'm on the Federal Reserve. I am not allowed to participate in politics. On the Fed, recently retired, but I'm not political at all. But if you run the math on the way the language models perceive Donald Trump's image, and you run the math on how they perceive cocaine's image, the mathematical best fit between all humans that we measured and cocaine is Trump. And, Charlie's on there, and I think Kanye's on. It's kind of a fun list, But the point is, if you don't have a way of sort of seeing this, because humans are really good at processing visual information. That's what your brain's pretty much evolved for. And if you graph something, it's easier to see it. So this is why I wanted to build a tool so you could graph something and at least have some sort of human intuition as to what the heck was going on.
Yeah, interesting. Cool. I'm going to leave politics behind, not to incriminate myself here. But Mostafa, in the spirit of making things a little more actionable, I'd love to hear if there's any particular steps or shifts you recommend brands taking in their go-to-market, content, SEO strategies that could help actually drive impact.
I thought that was pretty actionable.
I thought so too, yeah.
But I think hopefully your brand doesn't rank high up against cocaine, because you'll have a different problem here. But generally, I think what brands should do is just start thinking about how there are people out there forming perception and making decisions about your brand, whether you're tracking it or not, whether it's showing up in your Google Analytics or not. If you're not tracking it right now, you should, at least the referral sources. But there are essentially people making decisions about your brands and your category and your products on these LLMs, whether you like it or not. 92% of Americans making over $125,000 are using ChatGPT, and 75% of them have reported that have bought a product based on the recommendation of an LLM. So they are influencing your market and your industry. So make sure you're tracking them, whether attribution tools are telling you that or not today. Monitor the visibility of your brand. Monitor the sentiment of your brand, how your brand doing against competition, but more importantly, the factors that are driving that. I think the reason why we built our tool is just we're trying to put brands, and not to be salesy here, we're trying to put brands back in control of their narrative on these LLMs, but more importantly, tie it back to metrics that matter. Is it actually making money for me? Because at the end of the day, that's what really, or driving growth or one way or the other for these brands.
But Mostafa, how do we know who to trust? In the old days, somebody would call me up and say, hey, I can get your product #1 in Google search. We're a search optimization company. Pay us this money, we'll hack Google and give you a better score. And I would say, okay, wait, don't talk. Let me tell you the name of your company. And then I would type into Google top search rank companies. And I would say, oh, you must be from, Hacker Ass Solutions. And they were like, no, that's not us. I was like, well, then you suck at your job. Right? So how do we know in this new world how to trust, or who not? Actually, trust is not. No, let's ask the question properly. What evil bastard can game the system for us? How do we pick the guy that makes our crappy ass beer taste or sell better than somebody else's beer?
That's a trick question. I think
You've got 40 seconds left.
Yeah.
Come on, man. This is what they care about.
No, I think you can. We don't. I think that it's very important that you go into this with the mind of what are the variables and factors that are actually impacting your brand visibility today. And make sure that you own these factors. If you can break it down into like actual factors that you can measure against, every brand that have worked with us, every single brand, like SteelSeries, Chime, even our own brand, if you ask what are the best in category, they're likely going to be visible. So that's an easy way to because they put in the effort to do that. And it's not like if your brand is already has no digital footprint, it will be pretty difficult to do that. But the most important thing is figure out how you're perceived by LLMs, what others say about you, what you say about yourself, are your websites crawlable by these LLMs, and make sure that even good SEO still matters in this area. We're not saying it's completely changed. Good SEO still matters, and just pay attention to this new digital shelf that everyone is rushing to get displayed on.
We have big red numbers screaming at us to wrap up, so I'd love to leave the audience with a sentence each on advice on how to navigate LLMs, trust, distrust, search, visibility, and all of that, each per person.
Jim, go for it.
I wore my T-shirt for this reason. Those of you who can't read it. In God we trust, all others we monitor. And this is the logo of the Central Intelligence Agency. The fun thing about this T-shirt is you can actually only buy it in the Langley gift shop. So unless you have somebody who can get you into CIA headquarters, you don't actually get to buy this particular shirt. But look, trust but monitor.
Love that.
Yeah,
Mustafa?
love that. I don't have better words to top that and a better shirt to top that. But I'll tell you, again, just get back in control, really, of your brand narrative on these LLMs, and the fact that you don't see what's actually happening and how people are forming opinions about your brands and industry doesn't mean that it's not already happening. Get ahead of it, and again, I'm sure that there's a lot of growth arbitrage that can happen on that front, and keep learning and unlearning and navigate the shift together.
And don't do cocaine.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.